Hey everyone, me Kevin here. I'm going to provide a quick election update. Federal Reserve Chairman Jerome Powell, after all, speaks and releases a Fed statement. The statement comes out in 20 minutes and then he's speaking after that, so we're going to get to that next. But for right now, I want to give you an update on the lawsuits going on with the election. Remember last week, Trump and the GOP filed a lawsuit in Texas. They wanted to throw out basically ballots that were cast through 10 to 11 different drive-through polling places. Well, a judge rejected that lawsuit within like 36 hours, which is really fast when we think about it, because usually we think lawsuits are slow. Well, just a bit ago, within this last hour here, a judge responded to a Trump lawsuit filed in Georgia. The lawsuit suggested that dozens of late ballots were basically mixed with on-time ballots. And the Supreme Court last week said that we should segregate. If ballots come in after a certain time, they should be set aside, so that way we can sort of determine which ones are going to be legitimized or not. Well, this lawsuit alleges that these were mixed up. And so Trump's campaign is basically saying, hey, pause the count, let's figure this out. And a Georgia court just ruled, quote, "The court finds there is no evidence that the ballots referenced in the petition," a petition is just a lawsuit, "were received after 7 p.m. on election day, thereby making those ballots invalid." This was in Savannah, Georgia, and that actually means the court would have had to have done some kind of research to actually make a ruling like that. So, which is surprising because this lawsuit was just filed yesterday. It's moving very quickly, which is a good thing for the legal system to move quickly. We hate it when the legal system's slow. You hear lawsuit and it's like, oh yeah, 2 years, right? Nobody got time for that. Then in Michigan, also within the last hour here, Michigan's Court of Claims just said that the judge, quote, "plans to deny a request to stop the counting of Michigan ballots." So this is a lawsuit from the Trump campaign trying to stop counting ballots in Michigan. And the Michigan court also said, quote, "the counting boards have completed their function." Quote, "The ship has really sailed on the relief they're requesting in this case," which relief is just a way of basically solving a problem. So when you have a problem, you go to a judge and you go, hey, we want an injunction right now. An injunction means stop doing that right now. So for example, we want relief. We want ballots to stop being counted. Judge looks and says, hey, we don't see any issues here. Sorry, we're going to deny this. This is happening very, very fast, which is good because we don't ultimately want this election to drag on. Half of us want one candidate, half of us want another candidate, but the last thing we want is this to go on until January. We've already got the runoff to be worried about in Georgia because we could end up with a 50-50 50-50 Senate split, which would be problematic because, basically, I guess I shouldn't say it would be problematic. It would just be very interesting because we'd be in a situation then when Democrats would essentially be sweeping because Kamala Harris could break ties in the Senate. Anyway, this judge over here in Michigan mentioned, quote, "What I have at best is a hearsay affidavit, I believe, that addresses a harm that would be significant, but that's what we got." This is what the judge said. Quote, "We've got an affidavit that is not firsthand knowledge." And so here's basically how an affidavit works. An affidavit is basically like you literally just picking up a piece of paper and saying, I think something, or I saw something, or I'm attesting to something. And then you swear to that, excuse me. And that's important because if you lie in court, then that's perjury, right? So an example of that could be like, quote, "I saw someone stuffing ballots into their pants with Trump's name on it." And then they sign a, sworn statement that this is true. Then the judge here is saying, well, it doesn't look like we have any firsthand knowledge of this happening, which really means the affidavit may have said something like, "I heard from Johnny that somebody said somebody's stuffing Trump ballots into their pants to throw them away with Trump's name on it. And we need to stop the voting or the vote counting until we can investigate this." And remember, this comes as this morning Donald Trump tweeted, "Stop the fraud," especially since statistically these mail-in ballots that are coming in lean in Biden's favor. About 53% of the ballots coming in go to Biden from mail-in votes. However, in-person voting heavily leans Trump, about 60%. But those are already counted. So now in Michigan, I believe the affidavit was actually about ballots potentially having come in late. That seems to be where the big issue is like, okay, did these ballots come in by the 7 p.m. election day deadline? Or did people basically find a box of ballots somewhere and run them in at 9 p.m.? And we want those to be illegal and illegitimized. So that's what the Trump campaign is really pushing for here is legal and legitimate ballots. And so the big thing here is that these lawsuits are going pretty quickly. And overall, I want to quickly end by mentioning this here. There was an article, and this is, I'm going to just be completely transparent about this. It just has an interesting perspective, though. This is a New York Times article. New York Times leans left. All right, so in fairness, it leans left. But this article mentions how to steal an election, and it talks about how in order to have like a fake voting scheme, they kind of made me think about it. They say someone would basically have to organize potentially as many as 60,000 fake votes in a state that they think is going to be contested, because you can't vote once you know it's contested, because then the election's over. Which means 60,000 people would have to put their licenses and legal identities on the line for fraud, which fraud's a felony. So really, you would have to find, it's hard to get 60,000 people to sign up for fraud, basically, especially because it's like one vote. Fraud for one vote, like that's tough, right? And so instead, you'd probably have to find like fake IDs or like dead people's socials and stuff like that to actually fake. And then you'd have to find that in the state where it would actually matter, and you'd have to know that before the election. So it was just kind of insightful, whether we agree with that or not. I think the big fight, though, what I want to say is the big fight is it's all going to be a matter of the timing. Who voted late by mail? Did they put their ballot in the drop box late? Will those count? Who knows? The only thing that I know is that you got to sign up for Webull and get 3 free stocks with the stock trading platform Webull via the link down below. And of course, get life insurance in as little as 5 minutes. So that's the update for now. I'm going to jump on over and get ready to do the Federal Reserve video. Thank you so much for the $5 donation. I really appreciate y'all. I've never done an update like this live, so hopefully you appreciated it. Maybe we'll do a Q&A a little bit later when the Fed comes out. Thanks so much for being here, folks. We will see you in the next one. Stay tuned.